In this video, we are going to learn how to set up a virtual host with the free version of Mamp. If you navigate to Applications, Mamp folder, and then double-click the mamp.app, if you have extensions hidden, then you're only going to see Mamp in capital letters. So double-click this file. This will come up with a warning, and it tells you basically that if you are using Mamp Pro, use this. If you are using Mamp, use this. Basically, don't mix them together because there may be some sort of problems later on. We are going to start with launch Mamp because we want the free version of Mamp. And the first thing we are going to do is go to the preferences and we'll change the ports. We change the ports because if we keep the ports as Mamp default, which is basically for Apache's 4 times number 8, that would mean that whenever we are typing the domain in the URL, browser URL, we would have to follow this with a colon and then the port. Basically these 4 8s here, and I don't really like this approach. So what we are going to do is set the port to default web ports, which if we click this button, you can see Apache port is now 80, and that means that you won't have to type any port in a URL. Now, one thing we need to do is also change the port for Nginx port here, because Nginx is also the web server. If you go to the web service tab, you can see that you can select which web server you want to use. We are going to be using the standard Apache. And we have to change it because if I click on OK, you'll see it comes up with the error telling that each server must be assigned a unique port. So we have to change it to something. Let's just put 80 again. And if we click on OK now, that should set up the ports and we are ready to go. So the first thing we are going to do now is open the terminal. If we go to the spotlight and start typing terminal, you can see that pops in. If we select it, that will open the terminal. Now, don't get intimidated with terminal. I know it may sound like a big deal to start with. Obviously, this course is for the absolute beginners, but you'll see that using terminal, you can really simplify many things and make them happen much quicker than using the graphical user interface. So we are going to start by navigating to a specific folder. Navigating in terminal, you use the command cd. Think of this command as change directory, cd. So we want to navigate to the /private and then etc folder. Now that we've typed the path, we hit enter. And now we are inside of this etc folder. As you can see, after the name of the computer, we've got colon and then etc folder. To view what files and folders we have in this directory, we use the ls command. If I type ls and then hit enter, we can now see visible files and directories inside of the etc directory. To also see the hidden files and see a little bit more information about the file, like let's say permissions which are set on the file, the ownership of the folder of the file, the file size and so on, we are going to pass some options to this ls command. So we're going to start with typing ls again, then space hyphen a, which will basically list all of the files, including invisible ones, the hidden ones in other words, and l, which will basically list them together with all the associated information like permissions to the file, as I've explained earlier, and obviously ownership and so on. So let's hit enter to see, and there you go. You can see that if we scroll up now, you will be able to see these 2 records here on this line. First one was the single dot, and then we have double dot. These are invisible hidden directories. So if we scroll down, you can see that we've got a number of different files and directories here, and they have different permissions. This first column is for the permissions. Then we have ownership, root stands for the administrator, and then we have different group, which is associated with this specific file or folder as well. Then we have last modified date, file size, and so on. If we now try and identify the file with the name host, you can see it's here and it's owned by the root user, which is basically the administrator. In order for us to be able to modify this file, we need to open this file as a root user, as administrator. So in order to do this, we are going to use the command sudo. So sudo, and then we are going to use the specific editor. We are going to use nano editor, which is basically one that you can use within the terminal. And we are providing the file name as the a third argument, which is basically hosts. And now if we hit enter, you will see that it's going to ask us for the password. So I'm just going to type in my administrative password and hit enter. This will open this file in the Nano editor. If we move our cursor down using the arrows on your keyboard, and one thing we need to add here is basically the reference to our new virtual host. And we are going to be referencing it to our local, pointing to the local host basically. So 127.0.0.1, then tab, and we are going to type php course.dev. Now, if you have any more virtual hosts that you want to use, let's say another project you want to run on your local machine, then simply do the same 127.0.0.1 and whatever domain you want to use for it. Let's say, I don't know, e-commerce hyphen website. You can leave it without any extension as well. It's entirely up to you. But we are only interested in this single virtual host for the time being. So once we've typed it, simply hit Control X on your keyboard. You can see this reference here as well. At the bottom, you've got X with the control. If you hit this, that's going to exit. And then it will ask you basically whether you want to save the changes. Y is for yes, N is for no. So simply type Y. And then last thing is the file name you want to use. We want to use the same file name, so simply hit enter on your keyboard. And that will save our changes to our host file. We still need to edit another two files. So the first thing we're going to do is let's clear this console. There's a lot of content here, and we obviously have our cursor right at the bottom. So in order to clear the terminal window, you simply press Command and K letter on your keyboard. So that clears the entire content. As you can see, we've got a nice clean window again. Now we are going to navigate to another directory. Let's type cd, change directory, then / applications. Then we go for Mamp folder. Then we have conf and Apache. Now hit enter to navigate to this directory. As you can see, we are now inside of the Apache directory. And simply type ls, and let's use the our options which we've used earlier, al. And as you can see, we've got a number of files and directories here. The file we're going to start with is this httpd.conf. So let's open this file inside of the Nano editor. This time we don't need to use, we don't need to open it with administrative privileges. So simply type nano without the sudo and httpd.conf and hit enter. This will open the file in Nano editor. And now using your keyboard, press Ctrl and V, and that will scroll through the pages of this file. We are going down, 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 right to the line, which will include, if I just quickly try and find it here, we need to find the line which includes the virtual host file, which is down here. You can see this line virtual host, and it is commented. The hash symbol inside of the terminal window inside of the files basically is a comment, and we want to uncomment this specific file because we want this file to be included whenever this file is run. So simply move your cursor down. You won't be able to use your cursor to use your mouse. You need to use arrows on your keyboard, and simply remove the hash at the beginning of this line. Now that we've done this, simply hit Ctrl X. Again, as you may remember, we've done earlier this command here, Ctrl X to exit. And now simply Y for yes, because we want to save the changes to this file, and enter because we want to keep the same file name. We don't want to rename it to anything. So simply hit return or enter on your keyboard to save it. Now this file has been saved. Next thing we need to do is navigate to the directory inside of this Apache directory, which is called extra. You can see this specific directory here. So we are going to use cd command again and type extra and hit enter. Now we are inside of this extra directory, as you can see here. Let's do lsal, and you can see there's a number of different files, and the file which we have just included is this httpd vhost. As you may remember, we've uncommented this line just a second ago. So what we need to do now is edit this file with nano. Again, we don't need administrative privileges for this one, so simply nano httpd-vhost.conf and hit enter. Now we need to scroll down, so Control V, and you can see we've got two virtual hosts set up here already. These blocks with the virtual host opening and closing tag, this is the block for a specific virtual host. So what we are going to do, because in Terminal you can actually select the content and copy it, what we are going to do is copy this entire block, so select it all, simply choose copy, and move your cursor right to the bottom using the arrows on your keyboard, and now simply Command V or use the paste option with your mouse, and that will paste this copied selection. What we need to do is to remove a few options here. Now, we are moving our cursor up, and in order to get to the end of the specific line, you obviously cannot use the cursor because cursor doesn't work here in that way. So what you need to do is on your keyboard press Control and E, and that will move your cursor right till the end of the specific line. If you want to go to the beginning of the line, the same thing, Control, but this time rather than E, press A on your keyboard, and that just basically goes between the beginning and end of the line. So let's go to the end of the line with Control E and start deleting using your backspace. We are removing this custom log because we don't need this, then arrow log, we also don't need this really, so we are going to remove this. These entries, we need server name and we need document root. So we are going to keep these ones, and then the last one, server admin, we don't need this email address here either. So we are going to remove this specific line. Once we've removed all this, now we need to provide the path to our document root, and we are going to be navigating to our desktop. Let's first, what we're going to do basically, let's remove all this content from within the double quotes here. And my specific folder will be on the desktop. I'm going to create the directory on the desktop in which I'm going to run my this specific exercise. So let's open the Finder, let's navigate to the desktop, and let's create a new directory called PHP course. Now this PHP course is inside of it. If I'm going to my Mac Pro here, you can see Macintosh HD is the drive where everything starts from on Mac, and then we go users, then it's my name because this is how I'm logged into the computer. Obviously you're going to have your own profile here, and then there is a desktop, and obviously finally we have our PHP course. So this is the path will be users, in my case Sebastian, then desktop, PHP course. So what I'm going to type is users, Sebastian, desktop, and PHP course. That's the path to the folder to which I want to point my virtual host, my made up domain basically. Now I'm going to remove this dummy host, whatever it was, keep the server name, then space, and we are going to put phpcourse.dev because this is the virtual host we want to use for this exercise. Now that we've done all this, obviously if you want to have more virtual hosts, again, the same as previously, if you want to have another one for a different course, for a different project you're working on, simply copy this entire block, paste it underneath, put the path to the folder, to the root folder of your other project, and specify some domain name that you want to use in the URL in order to be able to access these files, and obviously do this for as many virtual hosts as you want to create. Now that we are ready, because we only obviously need this one, simply hit Control X again, Y, because we want to save changes, and the file name we want to keep the same. So enter. And that's all saved. Let's clear the terminal, so Command K on your keyboard. And now let's navigate to our home directory. So our home directory is this Sebastian. If I again open the Finder, you can see Sebastian, this is my home directory. Now in order to navigate to the home directory, there is a shortcut. You type CD because you want to change the directory, and use a tilde symbol on your keyboard, this kind of wavy curly line hyphen like, and simply hit enter, and that will take you right to your home directory. If we now use the ls command, you can see that there are all my folders, the desktop, documents, downloads, and music, movies, pictures, and so on. Everything that you can see actually in the Finder. As you can see here, we've got all these directories. So this is where we are at the moment. Now we want to navigate to the desktop and our PHP course because we are going to create a simple index.php file using terminal. So we need to navigate to cd desktop, and then we have PHP course. If we now hit enter on our keyboard, if we do ls, you'll see there's nothing in this directory. If you use ls-al, then you'll see that we have these two hidden directories with single and double full stop. So let's create this index.php file. Again, just we are going to use the nano editor, so nano index.php. This is the file we want to create. If the file which we are trying to open does not exist using the nano editor, there are some other editors like VI as well and so on, but we are my favorite one is the nano, really. That's why we are using this one. But obviously feel free, if you're obviously familiar with terminal and shell, then feel free to use any editor obviously for this purpose. If it does not exist, the file with the name you specify, then it's going to be created when we're going to exit and save the file. So nano index.php, hit enter. And now what we want to do is just basically output something that we can actually see that it's working. So I'm just going to type hello with the exclamation mark, and that's all I need for now. So Control X to exit, Y for saving the changes, and the file name the same as we specify, so index.php. If we now do ls inside of our PHP course and hit enter, you can see our index.php has been created. That's all done. Our virtual host on the free version of Mamp should now work just fine. So let's go and test it. So if we open our Mamp console and click on a start service, the Apache server should go green in just a moment. Obviously, we first need to type in the password. And there we go. MySQL and Apache server are now running. The checkboxes went green, and this automatically opens the default Mamp page on our local host. But we don't really need this specific page, so we're just going to close it. What we are interested in instead is obviously our virtual host. So let's type in php course.dev, and there we go. Our hello output from within the index.php file has been shown in the browser, which means that obviously virtual host works as expected. In the next video, we are going to have a quick look at how you can actually do all this using Mamp Pro, which is really so much easier, and you'll see in just a moment.